gotta get my headspace. Hold on. I've been working on my Admiral Akbar impression. Let me just warm up a little bit. My mother made me mash my many M&Ms. My mother made me mash my many M&Ms. Okay. I'm ready for my Admiral Akbar impression. Here we go. Nope, that wasn't it. It's a trap.
No, that was terrible.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give you colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set courses for reality beyond our own. So we're going to be talking about Star Wars today.
Woohoo! Getting right on topic today. If you hear a lot of clickety-clacks, that's because the dogs are frolicking.
There's 4 dogs here right now. 2 of them are his. One of them's mine.
The growling one is mine.
And the one who's causing the growly one to growl is mine.
Yeah. It's a fun interrelationship of doggos.
They hate each other. Anyway, we're talking about Star Wars. We're talking about Andor. We're talking about episodes 1 through 3. We're not going to cover 4 at the time of this recording, which today is October 8th, I believe. Correct. 4 and 5 have come out. We will put out another episode once 6 comes out, so we'll kind of do our reviews in batches. So we're going to give you our spoiler-free review, and then we expect you to go follow all of our social medias after that, and then you can just shut the episode off. Because then we're gonna spoil the heck out of it. It's gonna be great.
Ruined.
We're gonna ruin it. That's not true. We both really liked it, right?
I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, positive. All good things. Anyway, here is our spoiler-free review.
Sorry, the dogs are like just running back and forth underneath us right now.
Crazy, man. You guys are all being such. You have so much energy.
Currently, Theo is up on his perch, so he's just hanging out looking at squirrels. Like, hey, what's going on, guys? So he's being a little bit of a dork. So
indeed.
Sorry.
I'm gonna scooch it on here. Oh my gosh. He lent me his chair and I don't know what's going on. Anyway, here is our spoiler-free review, for real this time. Andor is a medium-paced, methodical look into the roots of the rebellion. We see very clearly the toll the Empire takes on its citizens throughout the galaxy. In this case, we see the arm of the Empire extending and operating through local corporations to keep their form of tyrannical justice. So what that means is they are using corporations and corporate security as the long arm of the law. We see the powerful consolidate more and more power for themselves while their citizens become exponentially more desperate. That's going to be key. If we learned anything from the Battle of Yavin and Endor, those who are desperate fight the hardest. Diego Luna really shines as he reprises his role in Andor. The first 3 episodes really show us his upbringing, motivations, and how he becomes the stunning lead with his own titular show. First 3 episodes are a 4 out of 5, in my opinion. It starts off as a slow burn, but really takes the time to build tension and literally and metaphorically crescendos into altercations that will have you on the edge of your seat.
So, again, we are going to be getting into some more of what actually happens in this show. So if you guys have not watched episodes 1, 2, and 3 yet, this is the place and the time to turn off the episode and make sure you are no longer watching because we are going to spoil things. You guys can follow us at Talk About Tatooine on YouTube and Talk Tatooine on Twitter. We do a lot of different things there. Basically, you can catch up kind of with the daily goings-on there, but consider this your warning. We're not going to spoiling things. So,
Goodbye!
all right, now we're going to get back to the cool kids. Let's talk about spoilers. So, we're going to be, again, reviewing episodes 1, 2, and 3 at this time of recording, and then we're going to do 4, 5, and 6 at a later date. So that way we're kind of doing this in chunks, gives you guys a little bit of time to catch up. We are also working adults, so it's kind of nice to have that little bit of time so we can actually get to watch it as well. Really what this story is about, and this shouldn't surprise anyone, is that this is an anthology of the backstory of Andor. So this is telling us basically how he came to be the rebel operative that we saw in the movie Rogue One, and basically it's going to build in all of the missing puzzle pieces as we're going through. Now, these shows actually go over 2 different timelines so far, at least in the first 3 episodes of Andor. So it not only goes over his entrance into the rebellion, so he starts, basically he gets in a little bit of trouble with the Planetary Defense Force and the corporation that's actually running things. because he's, you know, kind of doing some petty thieving from the Empire. And he's like, oh, I'm doing my part, whatever. And he's, you know, kind of excited about it. But everything kind of like goes to crap really, really quick. But it also goes over his childhood as well. So it's going to cover his rural childhood, because he's basically on like a jungle planet for a while. And he's, I don't know about you, but I got the like Lost Children vibes from like Peter Pan, from like all these kids running around with like blowguns.
Yeah. So his village that he grows up with on Canary, that's the planet that he comes from. There are no adults. It's alluded to later that there was a mining disaster. Well, it's not alluded to. They say there was a mining disaster. There was a mining disaster and it killed almost everyone on the planet. So whoever is left, I'm guessing, is living in a very toxic, polluted environment. And apparently just all the adults died. I'm guessing they were probably working in the mines when whatever happened. I'm hoping we can see some sort of visualization of that, because it sounds intense.
Yep.
Everyone loves a good mining disaster.
Everyone loves a good mining disaster. But that's going to be showing us kind of how Cassian actually entered the galactic scene from his childhood, because he's basically going from this rural existence, kind of like living in the jungle. I mean, literally the weapons they use are like blow dart guns, which is pretty crazy considering, you know, we live in a galaxy with spaceships and, you know, faster than light travel, all that fun stuff. So it's going to be showing his entrance into more of the like broad galactic scope. And so there's going to be a lot of, I think, fun things with that as well. My overall impression so far, and I was like kind of excited about this, is because like Cassian's he's a rebel operative, right? So I was kind of hoping that they were going to steer away from, you know, always trying to like interject like Jedi and Force powers into this. And I was really kind of hoping we were going to get kind of a spy thriller genre, which how we're kind of setting up. And I don't want to talk too much about episodes 4, 5, and then soon to be 6, which hasn't come out yet as time of this recording, but we're going to be talking about that. But we're kind of getting away from kind of the general standard blueprint of a Star Wars show. And I'm kind of excited about them going into different, kind of a slightly different direction here. I'm very, very excited for what they're going to be doing. So,
and this Andor shows a lot more seedier part of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I mean, we're, less than 10 minutes in, and Andor kills that other cop in cold blood. He straight up murders him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he doesn't really care. You know, he's just like, oh, this guy's going to go report me. Well, he better die. So,
well, and that's a really key thing that we see about members of the rebellion and the rebellion as a whole, is as they get more cornered, they behave more desperately. And he doesn't really hesitate at all. He accidentally kills the other cop that's harassing him, and then he disarms the second one, kind of all in the same fluid motion. The first cop dies as like an accident. It's actually pretty sad.
It is. Like, yeah, because he's like, there is a second where Andor's like, oh crap, and then he kind of realizes, okay, I have a mess to clean up now.
Yeah, as soon as he sees that this has gone too far with the one cop, he's like, okay, well, I can't leave a witness. Like, he's seen my face, and he's corporate security, so he has the resources to come after me if he needs, and he just puts him down right there on the spot. It was brutal. It was really brutal, and he didn't rob him or anything. He just, okay, I'm gonna clean up my mess, and I'm gonna haul tail out of here.
Yeah, which is then interesting because it goes into basically the corruption of the like local forces. So you immediately go to kind of the next day, and like these deaths are being reported, and basically the head guy over the sector is like, doesn't matter. You know, he kind of puts the case together of like how it really happened, which makes it sound really insignificant.
He's spot on. Is like, this is what happened. Like, our cops were behaving immorally. They were behaving like they are corrupt officers of the law, and they got killed for it.
Yeah, he basically was like, hey, I think he ran into the wrong person, which is kind of exactly what happened.
Exactly what happened.
But you get this, like, one very righteous officer who's like, absolutely not. Like, we need to take everything as seriously as possible, which at that point, that's when things start to go poorly for Andor in those first few episodes.
Yeah. And like I said, it's a very slow burn. You don't see really any other action in the first episode.
Yeah, it is. I would agree. It's a very slow burn. I think that's probably actually my biggest hang up of the first three episodes so far, is that like I want more to be happening.
Yeah.
Because you see these events all unfold, and it just kind of happens like slowly. So not only does Andor, kill these officers, and then like an investigation kind of slowly gets put in, and then you slowly see like one of his friends like kind of like turns against him, and you see all these like poor feelings start to come out of the woodwork from other characters. But then you start to realize like, oh, he might have a love interest, but is it a love interest? We're not entirely sure. There's kind of some ambiguity there, but there's definitely like some other seedy dealings going on. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, but I definitely the first three episodes definitely made me wanting more. I was like, okay, I want more to happen. I want to see these situations start to get resolved, because we know where this is eventually going to lead, right? You see Andor die in Rogue One, so we're trying to figure out what kind of character this is playing him as, because he's basically a rebel assassin in Rogue One with like a partial conscience, which is good, but it's like, what else are they going to make him into?
Yeah.
And so I'm just like very excited to kind of see them continue to fill these holes in Andor's backstory.
So, and I want to bring up something, and I apologize if we kind of move into episode 2. So episode 1, 2, and 3 were all released at the same time. They were meant to be enjoyed back to back to back. It almost was a mini movie, which was really nice. What was your reaction about? So he has the potential sort of love interest. It seems like they had a previous flame, him and Bix.
I think
that was the woman's name. And then he goes to Bix. He's like, hey, like I need out. I want to sell this thing. Call your buyer. He's basically trying to settle all his debts, because he's like, well, I need to hide. I need money, but I also need these people to not be angry with me. It's sort of like he's a criminal, but he has honor. But also Bix's relationship with Tim is crazy jealous. Tim with two M's.
Two M's.
Two M Tim. Dude, this guy is a piece of crap. Immediately, he sees Bix talking to Cassian, and he gets like crazy jealous to the point where he's the one who turns him in. He's like, hey, the Canary male that y'all are looking for that you don't have any idea.
Pretty sure it's this guy.
Yeah, it's this guy right here. Come get him. Cassian would have made it out.
Yeah.
Cassian was not wasting any time. He wasn't like, oh, I'm going to like lay low a little bit. He's an expert. He is an expert. He's like, I got to get out of here. Dude, yeah, let's just take a moment let's talk about the quality of friends that you're supposed to make in life. Here's a general rule. Have friends that aren't going to turn you into the police.
It's fair.
Because Tim didn't know what Cassian did. His entire motivation was just spite. He didn't know that Cassian had killed these two guys. He just was like, I don't really like this guy. He's been talking to my girlfriend or whatever for too long. And because I know a little bit about him, because of the trust my girlfriend has in me, I'm going to turn him in. And I mean, his fate is later decided in a couple episodes from now, which felt weird. Not in a way that like, oh, I didn't really like the writing decision they made there. I actually really did like it, because and I liked it because it made me feel conflict as a person on how to feel about this thing happening.
It was a very decisive decision.
I mean, I guess we can just talk about it. Episode 3, when the Premor, or the Pre-Oxmor Lana Authority, also known as Premor Security, when they are coming through and their squadron of troopers is coming through to basically hunt down Andor, Tim is killed, because at the same time, Bix kind of loses her cool for like, honestly, it's just a split second. There's a split second where she makes like the wrong decision. She could have like, because everyone around her is running around, because like everyone's like banging on the things.
Pretty cool kind of mining defense that they have there. They're like, hey, we're being invaded, so we're going to be doing this super annoying thing where they're like banging out a rhythm on all of like the metal surfaces and stuff. It basically like tells like everyone in the area like, hey, we are being invaded. Like batten down the hatches, like arm yourselves, like, and it's like pretty cool. And so everyone is like kind of like getting out of the streets. So it does leave everything pretty decently like kind of exposed.
So the entire town decides to lock down because they're looking out for one another. They say, hey, these corporate thugs are coming in to harass us. They're doing something. We don't know what they're doing, but they're here. They're armed. Lock it down. The entire town has this consensus of this is what we're going to do, except Tim. Tim is the one who brought them there.
Yeah.
He knew that was going to happen. He knew if I call the Preox, whatever, they're going to drop the hammer and they're going to come here, putting a lot of people at risk just because he felt petty jealousy against Cassian.
Yeah, I mean, the Premor forces get there, and you can see that he pretty quickly experiences a crisis of conscience, and he's just like, oh, I thought they were just going to, like, take him away real quick, blah, blah, blah. But then the town kind of, like, escalates the situation, right? And so, like, it's, like, almost this, like, guerrilla engagement where now the whole town is like, hey, don't mess with us, but, like, we're playing defense here. Then, they're going through and hiding, and you're just like, okay, now you're going to feel bad? I'm like, you had to have known. Again, that's what you said. You had to have known that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Sure. Not a time to get, a crisis of conscience, but, he eventually got himself shot. So.
Well, and he gets shot because, like I said, Bix turns a corner and she sees the troopers marching through the town, and she makes the wrong split-second decision. She runs in, sees them, and just starts booking it the other way, and they eventually catch her.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly, I might add. And they rough her up. She's got like some pretty good bruising on her face because they like throw her against a wall. They handcuff her to a pipe, so she's just dangling there. And then when Tim rounds the corner and sees what's going on, he rushes to her defense, and they just ruthlessly gun him down.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I feel a lot of conflict about, because I want justice for Cassian. I like Cassian. I've liked Cassian ever since I saw Rogue One. Rogue One is honestly my favorite Star Wars movie right now.
It is probably it. I would go so far to say that, like, out of all of the Star Wars video and TV content, it is like in the top 3. Yeah. So I would include that also with like Star Wars Clone Wars, which is like my favorite Star Wars content, but it's not a movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, it does have the movie, but I'm referring to the series. But I would say yes, Rogue One is like top 3 Star Wars material. So the characters are very, very like lovable. Not lovable with like, oh, we want to hug you, but lovable like, oh, the character's so cool. And it, I'm very excited to see what they're doing with this. So.
Ooh, quick sidebar, we should do a tier ranking of all of the Star Wars shows and movies.
So down.
That would be a great podcast idea. Hit us up in the comments, and if you guys want to see that happen, we might just do it anyway, but let us know if, dude, why are you licking my foot?
The dog's down below licking his feet.
He's been just macking on my toe for like a minute. I would like to say that I kept
tasty feet.
Shut up. This is not going to turn into a foot podcast. I would like to say I kept a pretty professional demeanor.
How did we get so many?
Long time.
We got so many extra viewers once he said foot podcast. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, he just was going to my foot is very wet now. I'm just going to wipe that in the carpet. Okay. Can you continue us while I clean myself?
Yes, in just a moment here, guys, we are going to take just a short break and then come right back. We're going to be talking a little bit more about episodes 1, 2, and 3 and kind of some more details going into that, and then be finishing up and then going into some more news items as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are back officially for the second time, barring all dogs being dorks. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
There's a lot of puppers around.
Love them.
I think so far one of my favorite things is kind of this show so far is actually Stellan Skarsgård character Luthen. What's his last name?
Luthen Rael. R-A-E-L.
I think he's one of my favorite characters just because he does bring quite a bit of intrigue to this.
He's so cool.
He's the buyer of the piece of Imperial equipment that Cassian is trying to sell. And then you find out in episode 3, really where everything kind of comes to that like quick short crescendo of that first 3 series, that he's like, hey, I couldn't care less for the piece of thing that you're purchasing. He's like, I'm here for you. And you're like, ooh, interesting. Then they get caught in this like big like gunfight, and then like they're just like shooting their way out of everything. And it's really, I mean, that's kind of that was like what we expected to see in a Star Wars show. You're like, okay, blasters should be firing any time now. And so I was really excited that that's how they kind of ended it, or ended those first 3 episodes.
Yep.
Because it was kind of its own little mini story arc as they were going through that. I really liked it. I'm really excited to see his character play out like more and more, and just see some more development there as well.
I had no idea that he was going to recruit Cassian. I was like, yeah, he's just a buyer. Like, he's just a buyer. Like, who is this guy? But he's like, no, dude, like, I'm so much more. I'm here to basically found the rebellion. Because what he's doing is he has a front, which may be sort of legitimate, but really what he's doing is he's trying to finance rebel cells by, I'm guessing, selling like super expensive pieces of art to senators and stuff like that, and then taking the proceeds and giving it to
essentially
rebel cells.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he's not super successful. The cell we see on Altani, the next planet they go to, which is episode 4. Spoilers. Well, we're in the spoiler free. I guess we'll try to keep it to 1 through 3.
1 through 3.
Not everyone is crazy and has watched the first 4 episodes multiple times. I was traveling this week, so I had some extra time
to kill. So we'll get into a lot, because a lot of this, what is happening in episode 1, 2, and 3 is very much playing itself out in 4 and 5. So we're going to be really kind of diving into that as well. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about that. I think this is a good opportunity for us to transition into some of our news portions. Because some of the stuff I want to talk about is especially I'm going to be going into a lot more detail in episode 4, and that's going to be talking about not only just plot lines, but some other things that I may or may not have ranted about in episode 1 of this podcast.
Real quick, what would you give the Andor series as a rating out of 10 for the first 3 episodes?
First 3 episodes, I would give it an 8 out of 10. And I would say an 8 out of 10 because I was a little frustrated with the pace.
Yep.
A little frustrated with the pace, but I thought the casting was pretty good so far. I haven't, like, I felt you kind of know what's going to happen a little bit in those first 3, because you're like, okay, they have to get the plot moving somehow, like, so wherever this is going to go, you kind of anticipate a little bit of galactic travel. But I was also pleasantly surprised to learn that, like, Andor basically came from, like, a tribe of, like, jungle warriors. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's super cool. And I think that's going to add a lot of flavor to the character of Cassian, especially as a rebel operative. And I think they're really going to lean into a little bit more of, like, the darker side of the Star Wars universe. And I think Cassian I think they're very much setting him up to not really be a super compassionate character. I'm kind of thinking, because he shows that moment of compassion in Rogue One, where he's like, okay, fine, I won't kill this guy.
He was gonna do it.
He was gonna straight
kill him.
But I think they're gonna, at least this is what I hope. I think they're gonna go into a little bit of that darker side, and Cassian's gonna be kind of that assassin character, kind of that part of the rebellion that they don't want to be, but they need to be out of necessity.
Yeah, not quite the level of Saw Gerrera's partisans, which very much,
which are just terrorists.
Yeah, they cross the line into terrorism for sure, which is hard because, like, the Empire is also a terrorist organization, because that's what they do. They inspire terror in their.
I think you meant to say just a government, but
yes, got him. I would also give it an 8 out of 10. Honest to goodness, my only negative note is the slow pacing between 1 and 2. Yeah. Once you get about halfway through episode 2, it is an exponential growth in the pace of the show.
Yeah, it does.
In those first 3 episodes.
It does give a lot of dynamics. And I'd rather it start slow than end fast, rather than start fast and end slow. Yeah. Because then you feel like it kind of dropped off. But kind of that, like, good ramp up. It still left me, like, feeling like something to be desired, but still had a little bit of I still really liked it. Really excited for episodes 1, 2, and 3, and even more excited to get into episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Agreed. Let's go to the news.
All right, so a couple of news items we want to dive into. So last week we talked about the Leagues of Votan. They have already been nerfed, so I did want to talk to you guys a little bit more about how they've actually been nerfed, so that you guys can actually know what's going on. So if you guys are Warhammer fans. So again, we're taking a step from Star Wars to Warhammer now, because again, we like to talk about all things nerdy and gaming and things like that, because we know that you guys have a multitude of interests. All of the information I found was through Auspex Tactics on YouTube.
Great channel.
Really, really good. All of his information is super well broken down, so I highly recommend you guys go and watch all of his stuff. He does really, really good work. It's very cleanly edited, all that fun stuff. But the main 2 nerfs that have been placed on the Leagues of Votann, because they were like the strongest, like S tier, spot number 1, like they could basically, with the combination of judgment tokens and how much hitting power they had already, there were certain units that would basically just deal out a hilarious amount of damage. Some of them, like, depending on how they were able to add judgment tokens, you could basically start stacking all these abilities, because the judge, like, when you would start getting auto hits, they would auto hit as 6s, which then other parts of their weapons, like rail rifles and things like that, and the Brokir Iron Master does additional mortal wounds on 6s, and so you were getting these, like, out of control spirals of hits and wounds that would basically be able to, like, kill Rubute Gilliman, like, basically twice over. There was, like, depending on if everything, like, lined up perfectly and you had a bunch of judgment tokens, like on a Titan, for example, you could, like, mortally wound or even knock out, like, Imperial Knights, for example. Not Titans, Knights, but you could basically just, like, one-shot a Knight, essentially, which is crazy, a lot of points, because a dwarf should not be a dwarf that is relatively low points pre-nerf. That's the second thing we're going to go into. Was basically able to take out this, like, giant, like, robot, and that was pretty killer. The second nerf that they did, so if I didn't summarize this well enough, basically the judgment tokens are going to basically not auto wound as 6, and so this is not going to trigger all the additional, like, mechanics that were causing them to be so broken. The next thing is that they just increased all the point values. They're like, these units are too good to be worth too little. Some of the units did get pretty heavy point value hits, making them kind of not playable if you take everything Osbak's Tactics says as gospel. But he has a lot of good information in there, and all of his stuff is also backed up by the actual data, like looking at the data sheets and things like that. So now they're currently ranking slightly below some of those other top factions like Tyranids, Sisters of Battle, Necrons, and Harlequins. But they're still really, I think they're still going to be a really, really good faction to play. I'm actually interested in playing them myself because I really like the look of those armored warriors. If you haven't yet, you should actually go see actually how small they are, because it's hilarious. Like looking at that compared to like a Space Marine. Squats? They're squats. So very, very fun. Another piece of news that we're going to talk about is going to be the Call of Duty Mobile Season 9.
Oh, now, this is for mobile?
This is for mobile. So I'm super excited about this because I actually play and stream Call of Duty Mobile quite a bit. As somebody who likes to game on a budget, it's really fun having a really, really, honestly, well put together game for mobile. And they are bringing zombies back. They're bringing it back on October 12th, so I'm very, very excited about that. Mm-hmm. That is a mode that they basically took out of the game because they were like, hey, this mode has a lot of bugs. It didn't perform how they wanted it to, so they ended up taking it out. And I actually really respected that, but I was also never really expecting them to bring it back. I was just like, oh, I guess we're never going to play zombies again. I'm so excited for it. Plus, it's spooky season. It's October 8th right now, so it comes out in 4 days. Super excited for this. They're also bringing a new assault rifle, which is the Krig 6, and a new lethal equipment, which is the C4. If you've ever played Call of Duty before, you know just like yeeting that big pack of explosives like up and just like air bursting it is fantastic. It's so fun. And really, they do a really good job bringing like that quality Call of Duty experience into mobile gaming. And I personally think mobile gaming is one of the best ways to play a game. I shouldn't say best, because if you're playing on a PC or a next-gen console, like, of course that's going to be better, but it's one of the most accessible forms of gaming for people, and I think that's really, really important because not everyone has the chance to do this. They're also bringing back...
Accessibility is huge.
Accessibility is huge. They are also bringing back, or they're adding in some kind of, like, map tweaks. So the Hacienda map is going to be basically, it's now haunted Hacienda, so it's, like, super spoopy, which is going to be great. There you have lots of new skins coming in, and there's a big... like weapons balance patch coming up as well. I actually did tweet a graphic I saw on Twitter. I think I just retweeted it. That it basically shows you a graph of all the weapons that get different changes and things. So you're going to see some pretty cool stuff coming back out. So for example, it's like the CBR or whatever it is. It's one of the SMGs. It's basically the P90 model if you've played any other games Like that weapon got multiple nerfs, and now in season 9 is actually getting buffed. So it's it aims down sight super quick. It has a super crazy rate of fire, and I actually do get killed by it quite a bit. So kind of excited to see how that one turns out.
This is a good nerf.
Yeah, we'll see. That's just one of the weapons I hadn't used, so I'm excited to get a little bit more action into it. And the last piece of news item that I have is, as of October 3rd, so just about a week ago, not quite, Twitch is no longer allowing hosting. Now, this is important for content creators and other streamers and things like that, because one of the things we do to support others in our streaming community is you can essentially host a channel. So if I wanted to host you, but I didn't have the time to stream, what I could do is I could pull up your channel. It's essentially the process of like starting a raid almost, just without the actual raiding portion. And it would say like, my channel is hosting your channel. And so that way all of my followers would potentially have the opportunity to go and see your channel, what you're doing while you're live.
That's awesome.
They don't have that feature anymore though.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
It's just one of the things that Twitch is doing. Twitch has made a lot of different moves recently that I truthfully don't know why. I truthfully couldn't tell you why. I don't think Twitch is making a ton of really, really good moves as far as being on the side of their creators. I think they're getting a little bit too money grabby, but it is still the primary form of streaming. So we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, Mixer isn't even around anymore, so they have zero. Well, YouTube Live, but
not a ton of people stream on YouTube Live. I've thought about it myself. I think the biggest problem right now is I use Streamlabs. That's actually what we're using to record this. But when we're going through, you have to pay money for like Streamlabs, like premium or whatever, to stream to multiple places.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I'm not going to pay money for that. Like, I don't get that many subs or that many viewers. So I'm like,
this guy's got a Patreon, so we could change that.
That's true.
That's for the Healthy Humans podcast.
It's for my entire content portfolio.
Okay, awesome.
Yep. So basically, if you like one of the things, you can support me on that as well. But not here to necessarily plug that, so I appreciate that. But Twitch has been making a lot of interesting moves recently as far as what they're allowing their content creators to do. I don't know if that's driving more people away from the platform, but you also see some people just be like stupidly successful on there. Just to kind of bring up the classic example, you have creators like Ninja, where like they're, he's deciding to not go into tournaments, for example, because he makes more money on a day of streaming than he would even if he were to win the entire tournament.
Which is bonkers.
So, you have some creators on like the high, like part of the spectrum that are just making just a stupid amount of money. And then you have like other creators, I would say even like myself, who have not even earned their, first payout. I do very, very kind of like chill streams when I am streaming. It's very, it's at kind of those off times a day, stuff like that. Cause I have to work a real job, things like that. But
how that works.
you get a big variety of people as you go through. But interested to see how Twitch plays this one out. Interested to see what the community has to say. I did tweet out the other day that says because you can no longer host, a good thing to do is go through and really highlight the channels of your friends and the people you really value and the creators you really want to support, and put them in your suggested channels area. So that way, when those people do go live and one of your followers is on your page, they can see, oh, one of their suggested streamers is currently live. I will go check them out. Yeah. That is that's too many steps, frankly, because it doesn't show them right away as being live, because like you don't get a ton of profile visits when you're not live on Twitch. You really don't.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see on why they think that's a good substitute, because I don't have a good answer for you. I don't think it is. But again, Twitch makes a lot of money and stuff. But
they're gonna do what they want. They're the number one dog with very little competition.
Yeah. So next we're gonna get into our. Oh yeah.
News items. I have two news items that I want to cover. Star Wars or Lucasfilm Games has recently announced. This was my source is a video from the Aussie Jedi on YouTube. I follow his stuff, and he does Star Wars videos and Star Wars news. That's pretty much all he does. Well, that's not true. He's been whatever. He does other stuff too. What he was saying is that Star Wars has recently announced, Lucasfilm Game has recently announced that they are going to be following a 6-month cadence on Star Wars releases.
So excited for that.
So, the one thing, we do not know when this is going to start, but they have said it. So, probably what we're going to see is we're going to see Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and then every 6 months we're going to see a new game.
Oh, that's going to be dope.
So, my guess, this is speculation. Speculation time. Speculation Rainbow. Jedi
Jedi Survivor?
Jedi Survivor. Good grief, words are hard. And then we're probably going to see Star Wars Hunters, a game that should have come out like 2 years ago and has not.
Yeah, it keeps getting delayed. I've actually scratched news portions about Star Wars Hunters several times because every time I'm like, it's coming out soon. It's like, just kidding. It gets moved into the next year.
Yeah.
I think the most recent rumor is like Star Wars Hunter, which is a mobile game. Again, this is accessibility, bringing Star Wars gaming to everybody is like 2023, but they just say 2023. They don't say early, they don't say mid, they don't say late. They just say 2023. So we have this big 12-month time window to work with, which is super fun. So.
Yeah. So that's going to happen. That's really cool. I mean, in the recent history, i.e., basically the start of the pandemic to now, we've gotten no Star Wars news. They discontinued support on the newest Battlefront 2. It was like 2020 or 2021 or something.
Yeah,
it was actually a while ago at this point.
Well, I got kicked out of my account on that one because I had an old email. Yeah, dealing with EA is the worst. So I had an old
glad
email.
they don't have exclusivity anymore.
Yeah, I had an old email set up for them, and I hadn't logged in a while. This was because they had discontinued support, and they're like, "Oh, we need you to log in and reconfirm your password," which is stupid. You shouldn't have to do that for a video game you own. Anyways, and I basically can't play it anymore. They locked me out because they're like, "Oh, we sent you a new email," but it was to an email that I don't have anymore and haven't had for like 6 years. And so I was like, okay, but now I don't have that email anymore. And they're like, oh, that stinks. And I was like, can I just provide you with a new email? And they're like, oh, well, your information doesn't match anymore. And I was like, I know it doesn't match anymore. That email doesn't exist. And they're like, sorry. And so we kind of just went through this like never ending loop. And I'm like, cool, I can't play Battlefront 2 ever. Like, unless I have an actual disc or we're just to like completely reset my profile or something like that. I've tried to go through all these steps anyway, but it doesn't help. So,
well, here's a really hot take. EA sucks.
Yeah, EA is the worst.
We've always known
Hear me, EA? You suck.
You suck. Anyways, one other piece of news. The open beta for Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide has opened.
Let's go.
So go to their Twitter. They have a link there and sign up, and then you might get selected to be a part of the open beta if you provide them your email address. I have.
Is that on console or
That's going to be
PC?
on PC.
Ooh, gotcha. That might work.
They might do console too. It's probably just going to be PC because that way they can kind of control what they send out. And
that's fair.
there's a little bit more configurability with that. But that's the thing. That's something that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, me too.
PvE games are like my favorite. I suck at video. Like, I'm an adult. We just turned 28 this last month, and so we both have full-time jobs because that's what's expected of us. We can't live in a van down by the river because that's not socially acceptable. And since my dog really likes having a couch to lay
It depends
down
if the van has internet or not.
Yeah, it depends on if it has internet. If it's like a nice Mercedes Sprinter or like Volkswagen is coming out with an electric bus, and I'm like low-key excited for it. Whether or not I'll be able to afford it, I digress. We have jobs, and so personally, I suck at multiplayer games.
Oh,
it
so
makes me so mad. Just these little kids who are like, I am so much better than you. It's like, honestly, some of them aren't even going through puberty yet. They're like, I don't know. And it's just, and they're like, I'm so much better than you. And they're like 20 and 0. And I'm like, oh, cool, I'm 0 and 20.
Yeah.
It's horse crap.
Yeah, so.
It's horse crap. So I like PvE games. That's what I was trying to say. Coming back out of the rabbit hole, that's all I have for news. Dark Tide, sign up.
There is also rumors, so along that 6-month timeline with the Star Wars games as well, there's word of a KOTOR remake, so Knights of the Old Republic remake. We're not. There is also the Old Republic, more content coming for that. I will not be touching that. I haven't. The MMO style doesn't really fit for me. Not a huge fan. But KOTOR is getting a remake, which I'm super excited about because as somebody who beat the game like 13 to 15 times, I'm excited to 100% this on Xbox. I want all the achievements, and I want it to look super nice, and I want to beat Darth Revan in 4K.
You are Darth Revan.
No, I want to be him.
Be him. I think
Be Darth Revan, not beat. No.
So I actually want to tack on to that news about Knights of the Old Republic. It got, at one point, it was indefinitely delayed, and now it's back on track.
Yeah.
So they...
Very excited.
But I think they switched game studios or something like that. I would have to look that up. I'll try to find something and tweet out about it. But I'm pretty sure they have like a new studio, because they're not just making... They're not like making an anniversary edition.
Is he about to
He is
yank a wire out? Oh gosh.
Back up.
The dog is like in the rat's nest of cords. We almost lost our microphone there.
That was close. Lay down. Thank you. What was I saying?
KOTOR switched developers.
Yeah, they switched developers. They're not just like putting a new skin on it. They're like revamping the game design, and I'm hoping they're going to balance some stuff, because playing on the light side sucks.
Yeah, you're like, I can heal. Should we wrap up?
We should probably wrap up.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening and taking your time out to be with us here today. If you guys want to hear more about a specific topic and you want us to talk about it, you guys can tweet us at Talk Tatooine on Twitter. If you want to see more of the video format, which we're doing right now, you can see us on YouTube at Talk About Tatooine, and you can catch us on all of our podcasting platforms as well, which is going to include Anchor, Spotify. Slight delay with the Google Podcast, just because it takes a little bit of time to actually send over, and hopefully more different platforms as we move forward as well. We'll see you guys next time, and may the Force be with you.
Bye. Bye.